What is your I don't get paid enough for this speak moment? After 4 months of not seeing my family, because I was working full time and only getting 1 day off a week, I finally quit without notice when they were gonna make me close last Thanksgiving. I had already requested and approved the day off a month prior. I left and never came back. The GM even tried pulling the "you can't quit, you're fired" ahaha. I used to work at Old Country Buffet, and there were kids who would eat until they threw up like all the time. This one case that is seared into my mind was when I was once fixing up the salad bar and I heard back quote "Billy run" screamed from an ignorant parent, and then I see this 12-ish-year-old boy running to the bathroom, only he didn't make it. An unholy amount of undigested red jello came exploded out of him like a peeping volcano all over the Caesar salad, the floor next to the cash register, and on about 5 or 6 diners waiting in line to get in. It looked like he had literally vomited his guts out in an arc about 10 feet in diameter. I had to sweep up the chunks with a broom until a dishwasher with a mop could take care of the rest. Manager at a grocery store I worked in my teens refused to pay the waste management bill for several months. When they finally came and emptied the dumpster, there were still mounds of trash laying about around the area. He had me go out and clean all of it up alone. I didn't have any protective gear or supplies whatsoever, and was out in 100-degree weather. I was only given a bunch of trash bags to put it into, and when I went in to ask for help, I was just given a shovel. I worked one more day after that, and after just being given more work to do without so much as a good job or thanks, I never went back. When a thick stream of sweat drained out of this girl's cell phone case, I had to explain to her that her phone had water damage and that she shouldn't work out with her phone in her bra, all the while trying to be professional and not gag while cleaning the mess. I sold phones at Sprint. When I had to stop someone from peeping their cat under find. Plumber. Owner of a mobile home called and said they had a stinky yard. I could smell it when I pulled up. The mobile home was new and had only been set up for about 8 months. While setting it up, someone didn't tighten the no-hub band of the toilet in the kids' bathroom. 8 months of flushed toilet was all over the ground, under the home, and had just started being noticed outside. I told the homeowner to call the guys that set it up to come fix it. I wasn't crawling under there. Bagging groceries at a major supermarket. The manager came over to tell me that I needed to clean up the bathroom. An elderly gentleman fell off the toilet while pooping, and it was a literal speep show. Apparently I was the most qualified because I was 16. I was handed a broom and a dustpan. I speep you not sorry had to. My reward for going above and beyond the call of duty? $5 in store coupons. Sometimes dreams really do come true. I worked at a heating and air conditioning company doing bookkeeping. I was being trained by the company's accountant. If I made a mistake, the owner would literally scream at me full voice. I overheard him talking to his brother, and his brother had told him not to scream at me. The owner said, "You have to tear them down to build them up." I decided I wasn't going to take another day of his screaming after that. When I was doing 90% of my boss job in hopes of a full-time promotion that I had been promised for 3 years, and he took all the credit and told me my promotion wasn't in the budget. I ran the entire company's financials and general management for 14 hours. I had a meeting with the owner telling him I need a raise and to hire an assistant. He told me I wasn't business minded and should be a stay-at-home mom. I quit the next day. Fishmonger in a grocery store. We got a large number of lobsters in, soft-shelled and already dying. So my manager decided we could at least sell their tails. Apparently lobsters don't really have a central nervous system. So when you sever the tails and put their tails on ice, they freaking run away. So I had to chase these tails down because they've escaped into the rest of the display case, onto the floor, and hidden under our prep tables. Never again. Worked at a retail store. Fiends would come and occasionally looking to steal speep, and the worst we could do legally was ask them to leave, but my boss insisted we get physical with them. To which I obviously told her "Peep no." I watched her chase one out of the store one day and she screams at me since I'm standing by the door like tackle him, and I'm like "Mayo." First day at the health department. I'm left at the reception desk alone while literally everyone else in the office went out to a farewell lunch for the person I was replacing. As I was on 90-day probation, wasn't yet licensed and badged, my pay was $7.96/hours. I'm sitting at reception and some redneck comes in with a leaking garbage bag and drops it on my desk. It contains a newly beheaded javelina head. His buddy had been bitten and it needed to be tested for rabies as soon as possible. I had no peeping clue what to do with a leaking garbage bag of javelina head. He couldn't wait for others to return, so he left a number and split. Turns out, we don't do that sort of thing at the health department. Guy refused to come back. I worked at Circuit City when I was 17. Heard a noise of packaging being opened in the movie section. Found a guy crouched down cutting open DVD boxes and stealing the discs. He looked at me, held his knife out, and said, "Got a problem?" I just replied, "I don't get paid enough for this speep," and backed off. I went to the back room of the warehouse area to call a manager to tell them what happened. Never could get a hold of anyone. So I just chilled in the warehouse area for a half hour to decompress. I have a mildly irrational fear of spiders. I was asked to help clean out an old storage area / shed type building. It was covered in dust and a ton of these big black spiders, but a big enough space that I felt fine. Until my supervisor handed me a leaf blower and asked me to go through a back hallway with it. Opened the door to the hallway and it was cramped. Just tall enough to be a little over my height and just wide enough for me to walk through. Except there was no light, so it was pitch black. Until I held up my phone flashlight and saw the largest mess of tangled webs filled to the absolute brim with thousands of the big black spiders. Straight up refused to walk down that thing. Especially with a leaf blower. Like, no thanks. I don't want to create a spider tornado. My supervisor was irritated with me that I refused to do this. But I would rather be fired than walk through the arachnid hell hallway for $10 an hour. Grocery store cashier. The customer was angry because her cereal had rung up wrong. I called a price check and this lady berated me the whole time. I recall that she accused me of trying to steal from her. Said she was going to get me fired. I looked at her and said, "I make $7.25 per hour, no matter how much you pay for this cereal. So I do not give a peep how this situation turns out." She stared at me in shock. The price check comes back saying the price scanned correctly. Silence. I said, "So do you want the cereal or not?" She said, "Yes." And that was that. She did not complain to the manager. I'm a public librarian. I was helping someone in the computer room and turned to tell someone he needed to keep his exclamations at the video he was watching down. Just then, the woman I was helping leapt aside because the man I was shushing pissed himself. It ran down onto the jacket he had tied around his waist, down the chair, onto the ground. Turns out he'd snuck in alcohol and was totally blackout drunk. I told him he had to leave. He put the piss-covered jacket on and stumbled out. As I returned with gloves and cleaning supplies, another patron decided this was a good time to complain about some kids who were making noise. I took a deep breath and said, "This is a good time for us all to appeal to our higher selves and do our best in the moment. Please just adapt for a minute." Then I thought about the student loans I took out for the master's degree as I scrubbed up piss. Barista. Grabby customer grabs drink on the counter, tastes it, says, "This isn't mine." I ordered a vanilla latte. "This is also iced." I proceed to tell her it's clearly not her drink she picked up then. I'm currently making Grabby's drink. Then have to double back to make the previous drink for the customer it was originally intended for. Again. 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Customer service should definitely be paid more. Bartender here. Grown man threw a lit cigarette at my face and threatened me with physical violence. This was a year or so ago, but a 45 maybe older year-old man behaving that way towards a 24-year-old female was definitely one of those moments. Plus the people getting handsy and occasional cleaning of vomit. I do not get paid enough. Doing volunteer work and some busybody started bossing me around like they were in charge, a neighborhood association type person. I told them to back the f*** off. It took a couple of seconds for people to realize that the person barking orders wasn't a boss, but an asshole that was used to being in control. Undefined. Working in a psychiatric hospital. 19F. Extremely psychotic. Pregnant W twins. Young woman would only talk to the girl in the cactus scrub top. Me. Naive me wanted to help this woman. The only way she said she would cooperate is if we were behind closed doors, which would not happen, obviously, but we did the best to make her comfortable within protocol. She was also completely naked. Anyways, security in the door, 2 staff outside, and me trying to console this psychotic woman who loved my cactus scrub top. She decides she finally wants to get dressed and wear my shirt, so she pushes me up against the way and tried to take it off. Security was on her quick, and I was out the door. 15 entry-level job, pretty much fresh out of high school. One of many stories. Undefined. Good healthcare volunteer work for students is always nursing/retirement homes as well as Special Olympics. You can never go wrong with those. There are always programs locally if you're in the US. I used to work in a mall music store. Back when that was a thing. There was a corporate policy to play new music regularly. Ick now. Because that's the f***ing thing you're trying to sell. My boss, every single day she worked, would play the entire Madonna album. Ray of Light. Hours of the same 8 f***ing songs. For most of a year. Until it was either go mad, commit murder, or bail. I bailed. That music franchise went under a little over a year later. I hold Madonna and my old boss responsible. Working for a popular grocery store, the amount of people that think the workers are stupid are astounding. The producer'll have codes and sometimes I forget. To the customer, this looks like I simply don't know what a broccoli is. They're like it's broccoli in a condescending tone, and I just have to brush it off. It happens so many times, and though it's not terrible, it really gets me down sometimes. Most people assume retail workers are people with no goals, or even bumps. That's not true at all. Everyone I work with, including myself, is planning to go to college or already enrolled. Undefined.